Hello everyone, so I know it's been a very long time since I put out a video. Obviously this was something I was doing in lockdown. Since going back to work, life's kind of just got in the way a little bit and I haven't had time to just play Football Manager that much. Also I did have some problems with my computer as well, so I couldn't actually access a lot of my old saves or tactics or anything like that. But recently I've managed to get that working again, so I've managed to access some of the saves I was doing before the computer went down. I've actually got all my tactics back now. And there's a few tactics I did mean to get out before, but I didn't actually, get around to making videos. So I thought I'd just start with a bit of an old tactic. It's a variation of how Atalanta play. It's a little bit more of a budget version, so it doesn't play out defence, uses a target man and an AF. I thought I'd go with this variation because I've seen a lot of videos myself, Gasperini's tactic. So I thought I'd just offer something a little bit different from what other people have done. So I initially created the original tactic in August 2020. This was something we did on Buster Net's Discord. There was a few of us on here just discussing, we spoke about the double diamonds, put some videos on there that we could all watch, posted pictures of our own tactics and discussed it. And I've used it from FM20 up to FM23. Obviously there's been a few changes that have been made over the time, especially with the match engine and stuff. But this year I went with something a lot more direct that uses a target man. So I've got a little bit here that I'll just use for notes. You can see the shape of the use. They always use the three at the back, two wing backs, two centre midfielders. It's up to you if you want to have an attacking midfielder and two strikers, or two attacking midfielders and one striker. You can see I've got a few images here. This just talks about, the players rushing forward. You've got the wing backs that are always rushing forward and sort of trying to attack the other side of the box. I've got a few examples of that as I went down. And as you can see here, it's just some basics about the shape here. So generally what happens is the two centre backs split here, and then you end up with these sort of two bottoms of a diamond there. So you have 1, 2, 3 players there. As they continue to move up the pitch, these centre midfielders will move out slightly and the wing backs will move higher. As you can see, you've got these sort of lopsided V's here with the wing backs sitting slightly higher. You've got that one player going, as Lewis will sort of go deep and he would roam in the middle there. And what you end up with is the two strikers, or the two attacking midfielders, however you want to interpret it, will move back here and they'll kind of form a diamond each side. What you'd have then is a midfielder then, but he would roam in between these two positions. So you'd have the 4 here, and this guy here would make a 5th man. The centre back there, he would always stay central in that position. So this variation here, I've kept it really simple and thought about the rest defence side of things. Now when you're in the attacking phase, rest defence is essentially the players that are sitting back and ready to win the ball back in case you lose the ball and the team start to counter. By having these 3 centre backs here and 2 centre midfielders here, we end up with a line of 3 and then 2. So in rest defence, you would call this the first line and this the second line. Something that can really help with this rest defence is the positioning of the players. So for example, by using a central defender with a stay wider, obviously he stays wider, which gives me that double diamond like we mentioned earlier. But also what you'll find is that a lot of teams, they try and counter through the channel. By having that stay wider, he's naturally going to be sitting in that channel. And as you lose the ball and start to counter, you'll generally already be in that position. So this stay wider, it serves 2 purposes. 1, we get the diamond, and 2, it helps with that rest defence. So we've got that on both centre backs here. So these 2 here will spread out. We've got 1 that stays in the middle central. For this variation, I've kept it really simple and just used 3 central defenders. Literally all I want them to do is just pass the ball out and hold their position. Moving up the pitch then, we've got 2 central midfielders. Both got tackle harder there. I'll go into a little bit more about the trap in a moment, but the tackle harder is here so they can try and win the ball in midfield. These 2 here will hold that position. And quite often when we're attacking on the right, the left-sided player here was sitting there. And we're attacking on the left, the wing back here was sitting there. So you get like kind of a 3 and then a 3, and then they'll be ready to move up. With the wing backs, you've got options. I use pass it shorter and take fewer risks just because I want them playing quite simple balls and not really hoofing it up here all the time. Especially having the AF and the target forward, it can really encourage players to sort of just keep kicking the ball up the pitch. Although we want quite fast transitions and want to counter, I don't really want a ball just being hoofed up the pitch. So this is something you can take off if you want to have more deliveries going up the pitch. Maybe in the game it's situational, you want to start seeing the ball go off a bit more, just take that off. Another option as well is to get the attack duty. You can just get them players running up the pitch a little bit more. I'll just go with a bit more conservative approach and then play it by ear during the game. Now next up here we've got an attacking midfielder on attack. This is a role that works very well. So you can see Fernandez here, last season, he got, in all competitions, he got 20 goals and 20 assists from that attacking midfield position. So it's something that works really well. Considering he's only a player I bought for 2.7 million. He played a 7.5 for over the course of the season. And obviously on him we've got roam for position, moving to channels, and we've got tackle harder again for the trap. But that roam for position is obviously going to help him become that fifth man either side if you have that sort of diamond form, and the attack duty is going to help him keep pushing into the box. So far, kind of what you're going to get then is, you're going to get the wing back moving up to here. You're going to get this guy moving over to here, so you end up with these two bottoms of the diamond there. Now with the forwards here, you get a little bit of a dynamic each side. So obviously the target forward, I haven't got him sort of stay wide or anything. We've got the focus play, which I'll go through in a moment. Again, he's just going to tackle harder because I want him to engage the defenders a little bit. But he's going to kind of drop down into this area, and you will get that diamond there quite nicely on that side. Now with the attacking forward, it's a little bit different. Obviously he does move into channels, so he does naturally move over to this side. But what we're going to find is he plays a little bit higher up the pitch. So you kind of get a diamond that's quite sort of normal down this side, and you get this kind of stretched out diamond on that side, which works really well because these players here, they'll play towards it and quite often ding a ball over to there, and the advanced forward will be over there ready to score. So going through the instructions then, out of possession, we're using a high press, but not using a high line. Now in the original tactic, I did use a higher defensive line, but the players I had in defence here are a little bit slower, so I'll just cut that down a little bit. Also use drop off more occasion. It's not something I use every game. If I find they've got quite quick strikers and they're trying to hit the balls over the top, I might put this on in this tactic. However, I've found using a high press and a standing defensive line can leave things a little bit open, and drop off more can obviously make that a little bit worse. As with most of my tactics, I never really mess around with the pressing slider. I don't really like players getting dragged out of position. I just chose a positive mentality, and that put the trigger press up slightly more often. I find that's enough. I don't think there's any need to go up to more often, but there may be times in the game where you might want to push that up a little bit if you want to try and impose yourself on the opposition a little bit more. So in transition, do use counter press, so we want to try and win the ball back straight away. That goes well with that higher pressing line, plus the opposition instructions I'm using. And then when we win that ball, we want to try and counter. And although I haven't got play out of defence, I still want to try and move the ball out from the back, so I do have distributed centre backs and take short kicks. I really don't want the goalkeeper just hoofing it up the pitch, especially if he's going to aim for that target man every time. Only for them to win the ball, my players are not in position and they start their counter. Now quite a big part of this tactic is the focus play down the left and right. This obviously moves the players over to the left and right side of the pitch so they can form them two diamonds either side. I also use underlap left, underlap right. Obviously the wing backs are going to come up here. We're going to dribble the ball quite a lot. What I want to do is just hold up the ball slightly and then look for players making inside runs. Quite often you'll get a wing back running up to here. He'll hold up the ball here slightly and he'll look for the attacking midfielder, target forward or advanced forward running into here. Also keep it fairly narrow. Using the focus play down each side is obviously going to keep the ball to the left and right of the pitch anyway. Combining that with that fairly narrow just means the players will stay closer together, and that helps retain possession within those two diamonds. Also then as you build up higher into the pitch up into this area, we're going to use low crosses so you get these players will come up here, he hold up the ball and he might use a cut back to the central midfielder or the attacking midfielder. I've kept the passing directness slightly shorter, slightly higher tempo. These are all things that can be played around with in game. I quite often go shorter passing and a higher tempo. You can add dribble less if you want to, and work ball in the box or hit all the crosses is also situational. So that's the roles and instructions. The only thing now to go through is the opposition instructions. So the aim is to bring the players into the middle of the pitch where I've got the most players. Obviously having three midfielders and three centre backs in the middle of the pitch makes perfect sense to try and funnel the ball into that area. To do this, I use tight marking on the fullbacks or wing backs. I also use tight marking on the wingers. This means the wing backs are going to have to move up and down the pitch and work quite hard to try and restrict the passes out to the wide areas. If the ball initially moves out to a fullback or a wing back, we try and show them onto their opposite foot. So what we've done there is we've got the right fullback and the right wing back. We've got to show onto your left foot, and the opposite side you show onto the right foot. With the wingers, we don't really want them cutting in, so we show them onto their strongest foot. So if they're right footed running down the wing, we try and get them to just carry on running down that right foot, especially if there's something like an inverted winger who's got a stronger foot and wants to cut in on the left, taking them out onto the right wing. Probably going to get them to carry on running down the wing where nothing much will come of their play. And then going down with the strikers, generally try and show them onto their weaker foot. So the middle striker there, the majority of players are right footed, so I show them to their left foot, show the left striker onto his left foot, him onto the right foot, and we just mark those players tighter there as well. So we just use the mark tighter, opposite instruction. Don't use any sort of instructions on the centre backs here. I wouldn't bother using any marking on the centre backs or anything like that. It can just get players pulled out of position a little bit and just leave gaps in your defence. So in terms of results, we're doing brilliant with Vigo really. You can see here that first season ridiculous really. Just sort of kept winning everything. I kind of built this tactic because it looked really good for this team. I actually just started this save because I was doing another save and I kept seeing set of Vigo players pop up in my scout reports. In the end, I just loaded up the save and thought, oh, this actually looks like a really good team, and it fits perfectly in with the tactic that I already had. I just made a few adjustments and it worked really well. Second season as well, didn't do quite as well. I don't think the squad was quite as good in the second season, but we started off brilliant there. But obviously we had Champions League football as well. It started to get a little bit harder. As you can start seeing, I started losing games here against Barcelona and Real Madrid. And we didn't end up finishing quite so high. So in the first season, somehow I actually managed to win the league. I won 31 out of 38 games, drew 6 games there, just lost the 1 game all year. In the second season, wasn't as great. We lost 6 games that season, but as I said, did have Champions League. Drew slightly less, but didn't win as much. I also used this tactic in the first season of a Wrexham save. This is a league that you should be expecting to win with Wrexham in the first season. It was pretty easy work. As you can see, the tactic made easy work of it. Paul Mullin there, he got 44 goals in 47 games, so that was a good turnout. And then you had Ollie Palmer playing the target man, and he scored 32 in 45 also. There's the league table there from the first season. You can see he won 38 out of 46 games, drew 6, lost 2, conceded 40 goals and scored 131. So with 120 points and a goal difference of 91, I could say that's a fairly good season. Found this a tactic not only works well in lower league management, but can also work well with a mid-table team that you want to push a little bit higher with. I put the tactic in the Dropbox folder, give it a go, have a play around with it. Like I said, there's loads of little changes you can make. You can have play out defence, you can mess around with them 2 forward roles, you can even use the 2 attacking midfielders and 1 forward. Give it a go, hope you enjoy it, and I'll get some more content out in the next week or so.